Okay, so in the last video we learned how to count with fractions, but now we're giving you a number line and we're saying, can you place this number on the number line? And that's where it changes just a little bit. Um, Let me show you how you can actually make this better. Even if they give you a number line on your scratch sheet of paper, you can always start out with your own number line. So I'll just put a little line right there, and let's go ahead and straighten it up here too. Now, always start at 0. This is a positive number, so we'll start at 0 here. So 0, let's see, bottom number is 5, so 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. I'm trying to space that out as close as I can so that way they're equal. And here's 5/5, and I know from the last lesson that 5/5 is the same as 1, and 0/5 is the same as 0. So where's it at? It's really, really, really close to the 1. So, oh, I see what I can do here. I can now just come through there and divide this up into fifths. So we took what we did on the last lesson. Hey, here's 0/5, 1/5, and we're doing the exact same thing. It's just on a number line right here. So where's it at? Right there. There's 4/5. What about 1/3? Well, okay, divide it up between, what would 1 be? 1 would be 3/3. So I've got to break this section up between 0 and 1 into 3 different sections. So maybe about here and here. So 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, and this would be 3/3. So where's 1/3 at? Right there. What about graphing 3/8, 6/8, and 5/8 on a number line? Well, since they're all with eighths, that'd be 0/8, and then we just kind of work our way across, right? That's all that we do. Excuse my handwriting. Now, I know 0/8 is the same as 0. I know 8/8 is the same as 1. The halfway spot between them should be 1/2. Do you notice that 4/8 simplifies down to 1/2? Do you notice that 2/8 simplifies down to 1/4? And it takes 2/4 to equal to 1/2. And then here's 6/8, so that would be 3/4. So here's your normal number line. And they're saying, hey, can you go graph these? Well, here's 3/8 right here. 6/8 is the same as 3/4, and 5/8 is right here. We've graphed the fractions that we needed to. How? We counted by the fractions. Now, what I want you to see, though, is that if you simplify these fractions, you can start to figure out where it goes. Like 8/8 is the same as 1, 6/8 is 3/4. That's a very, very important skill that we need. Let's take a look at this one. Can I compare -7.2 and -7 and 1/10? Well, we just finished a lesson about how we can convert a fraction, a decimal into a fraction. You look at the last place value, this is a tenth, so it's -7 and put a 10 on the bottom and 2 on top. Well, that's the same as -7 and 1/5. See why we want to simplify? Counting by fifths is a lot easier than tenths. And then we've got to compare it to this one. Well, what's the easiest way that we can do this? Let's put them on a number line. I see that we have whole numbers here and they're both -7. So let's just do this. Let's start at 0 and let's put in our integers, our whole numbers. Now, if I want to count by tenths, that's great, but I don't want to count. See, this is the same as -72/10. I don't want to count by tenths up to -72. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to use this whole number to get me to the general location. And then I'm going to go 1 after. And I know it's going to be somewhere in here for both of these. It's going to be after -7. Now, let's count by fifths. Let's see, let's break up from here to the negative 8 into 5 equal sections as close as I can. Not perfect, but negative 7 and 1/5 would be right here. Now, let me zoom in here, and we need to do negative 7 and 1/10. So let me see if I can zoom in here. There we go. So now I need to find out where this is at on the number line. Well, now this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a whole lot of small dashes in there. But I would see that it's actually just a smidge before the negative 7 and 1/5. And there we go. There's negative 7 1/10, counting by the fractions. The same thing that I've taught you. Here's negative 7, negative 7 and 1/10, negative 7 and 2/10, negative 7 and 3/10. And you see the pattern. Let's do one more. See what we need to do. And actually, I'm sorry, I didn't even finish the initial question. So which one's bigger? Well, whatever's to the right is bigger. Negative 7 and 1/10 is to the right of negative 7 and a fifth. So negative 7 and 1/10 is bigger. All right. Let me get the zoom fixed here. There we go. So if they said, can you graph 1/3 and let's just say 2/7, can you graph these two on a number line? You notice they're both positive, so we probably need to start at 0. And let's just count up by, I would start by the higher denominator first. Let's count by sevenths. So 1/7, 2/7, 3/7, and I'm going to go all the way to 1. When you're counting by two different types of fractions on the same number line, they have to play nicely with each other, okay? This is 0/7 right here, so this is the number 0, and this is the number 1. Now, let me come out with my highlighter here. This should be broken down into, that's not going to show good. This should be broken down into 7 equal sections. 1, 2. And let me just pause and get this in here. There we go. So I know I've got the proper um, spacing for the sevenths, and it's very easy to see where 2/7 is at. It's sitting right here. Okay, so we've graphed that one. And now, what about 1/3? Well, when that's time to happen, we need to use the same space between 0 and 1 because I know 1/3's somewhere in between here, but I need to break up the space between 0 and 1 into thirds. So I'm going to make a bigger line, maybe about here, maybe about here. And that looks pretty good. This would be 1/3, 2/3, and see where that's 3/3 again. 3/3 does equal up to the 1. So now it's an overlay between them. And now let me get this highlighter. There's one section, two sections, three sections. That's about as close as I can get freehanding it. Now, just looking at it, if here's 1/3 right here and there's 2/7, which one's bigger? The 1/3 is bigger. So I know that 1/3 is greater than 2/7. Of course, I've also taught you other ways to do it. We can go through and get common denominators, or we can cross multiply. The 7 is bigger than the 6. And hey, it agrees with us. 1/3 is bigger. So when you need to go and plot points on a graph, just count by fractions. If they give you a decimal, convert it to a fraction and then count by fractions. That's probably the easiest way I know to help people out that have struggled with fractions in the past.